All right, looks like we're live. So,
All right,
welcome
perfect.
back to the live stream, y'all. It is the Trial and Error podcast with Brian and Fearless. On today's episode, when we get around to our conversation, we're going to discuss why most businesses fail in the first 5 years and talk about some common mistakes that business
Right.
owners make. And we're going to be talking from a perspective of things that we experienced and seen. And so that's really what the conversation is. Tap in if you got questions or comments, go ahead and leave them and we'll respond to them on the air. And we're going to set it up eventually so that hopefully we can start bringing people into the live stream to kind of chop it up and talk about what their issues are. So now that's
Right.
out of the way, Fearless, I'll hand it over to you. Let's go.
All right. No, so we were talking about we were just kind of discussing intro videos and stuff like that, or whatever. But either way, we'll touch on that in a minute. So the main thing that we were talking about before the of the show within itself is why do businesses fail within the first 5 years?
Uh-huh.
Um, here's the thing. I don't think that that's what's the word I'm looking for? Um, give me a word, bro. What word? What word? I don't think that that's by accident. I'll
No, it's
say
not.
that. I
Yeah.
don't.
It's,
I don't. And I want to start it off by saying this. So if you look at NBA, NFL, any major sports where people get like a windfall of money, one of the things that you will always notice is that within 5 years of them actually retiring, they're broke. Think about that. Within 5 years. So they get millions upon millions of dollars to do whatever that sport is,
uh-huh.
only to at the end of it, you're broke. How does that happen? Well, the opposite also has the aversion effect as well, which is if you if you look at how long it takes for a person to succeed, Henry Ford, the creator of the Ford Enterprise,
Yep.
said he was once asked if he lost everything today, how long would it take for him at that particular time? He said, "How long would it take for you to build back up what you've lost?" And without even thinking about it, he said 5 years. So it'd take me 5 years to lose everything and then
Mm-hmm.
build it right back up again. Five
Right.
years. And I don't think that there's an accident there. Even a bamboo tree doesn't even start spreading its wings until 5 years of watering, feeding, sunlight, and all that stuff. You don't see anything. But underneath the soil, it's just sprouting all over the place. But it takes 5 years before you actually see the difference in what success will actually bring for the most part. I
Right.
think that the reason why most people fail is that you're still within that incubating period. You know what I mean? Like you're still in the infancy stage of building your company out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's no secret of how I went from making what was it like not even $3,000 a month, and I had two full-time jobs to making $20,000 a month, damn near doing the same exact stuff, just from a different capacity.
Right.
There's no secret in that. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I talk about within the coaching aspect is perspective is everything. If you
Right.
look at things from a different perspective, I guarantee you, whatever like wherever you're sitting, you might think that well, it's probably not going to work. Well, it's not going to work because you're not going to work it. And if you don't do anything with it, then it's not going to do anything. And if you keep doing, unfortunately, the same stuff, you're going to keep getting the same exact results. But the one thing that I learned today, um, listening to Master P of all people, right? He said that the one thing that he was able to do more so than everybody else was stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If you think about what business is, whether it's business, personal, relationships, platonic, romantic, whatever they may be, it's consistency.
Right.
How consistent are you at whatever it is that you do? And so I think that the reason why a lot of these companies fail is a lack of consistency. Like you have to know that you're gonna get shit on, especially in the early stages. You're not gonna understand anything, nothing's gonna work right. And if it does work, it's gonna shit out on you after a while.
Right.
So then what do you have to do? You're gonna have to adapt to what's going on. And you're gonna have to consistently keep doing that, especially within that first five.
Right.
Even in a marriage. If I'm not mistaken, every book that I've read on marriages state the same exact thing. 5 years. They say that the first five is the hardest.
It is.
How is it that a lot of these marriages nowadays don't last 5 years? You know what I'm saying? Because when things start getting tough, people do what? They walk away because
Right.
that's their consistent behavior. So you don't, like I told you before, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So if your thing is to walk away from stuff, if you're willing to walk away from one thing, you'll walk away from something else. So go ahead though, bro.
So there's a couple of different points that I'm gonna try to remember it before
Yeah,
ADHD
yeah,
capture
yeah.
it and flees off. So
There you go.
first things first, with NBA players, I saw this podcast and it was Lou Williams, and he's a NBA player, um, and he's talking
Mhm,
about exactly how NBA players go broke, and there's a lot
mhm.
of details into it because he's talking about how much agent fees actually are, how much you actually have to pay into like the NBA's retirement pension program, um, and all kinds of other fees, plus the taxes, plus all this other stuff. And the idea that they adapt to spending a certain amount because there's always a certain amount coming in. And once you retire, if you don't adjust your spending to match the decrease, if you have a decrease in like revenue from like um sponsorships and money coming in your paycheck from the team, you end up outspending your savings. It's an amazing thing. I actually dropped it in our private chat so you can take a look at it. I don't know if we want to
Mhm.
put it on the screen, but it's a little 4-minute clip. But basically, he's giving the inside game about how athletes go broke, and it's really kind of a
No, run
fascinating
it,
thing. All
run
right.
it, run it, run it. Let's do it.
Well, I'm gonna run that in a second. Um, a couple of
Okay.
things. So when you're talking about the consistency piece, and it does tie into the conversation. So what happens is,
Right, of course.
in my estimation, like with marriage, with anything, a lot of times the mastery of the business comes with mastering the boring shit, the the stuff that you don't
The
like to
mundane,
do.
mastering the mundane.
Yeah,
Right.
and a lot of people do not like. We're not adapted to for that level of consistency. You know what I'm saying? That's one end of it. The other end is I think the phrase is called hedonic adaptation. So um
Yeah, that's that hedonic where it's the same thing over and over and over,
yeah,
over and over and over. Yep, I got you. Yeah.
it's the tendency to return to a stable level of happiness after experiencing a major positive or negative event. That's why I used to tell parents when I was into the parent teaching stuff, your kid will adapt to any long-term punishment that you level. They'll just adapt eventually. So if you take
Hmm.
away
Yeah.
if you take away a computer, video game, and all this other stuff for 3 months, then within a couple of days, their new reality becomes me minus computer and video game. And then that stuff loses its ability to motivate the kid to do the right thing. It just loses its effect totally. And so we have a huge
Yep.
ability to do that. Kids are more adaptable than adults, but we end up adapting. That's why if somebody's depressed and they win the lottery, they're still going to return back to being depressed after all the fun of the lottery wears off. And now they're just depressed with a lot of money. And so that's the
Hmm.
concept there. So there's a couple of different things at play. But I think a lot of times with business ownership, once the fun of being able to say you're an entrepreneur wears off,